Hi, I'm Anna with Your Village, and I'm here with Whitlie, my OT. And today we are going to talk about some soft sensory dysfunction and how colic can look like colic, but not actually be colic. And Whitlie, can you explain that a little better for us?
Yeah, so when baby is in utero, there is no gravity. His sensory systems or her sensory systems are developing. Then we come into this world and there's gravity and it's loud and it's cold and it's bright and it's all these really difficult things. And baby has to learn how to exist in this world. And sometimes, in infancy, if those systems kind of aren't registering together, aren't growing together, you can have super fussy baby. You can have baby who doesn't want to sleep. You can have baby who can only sleep upright on your shoulder. You can have baby who screams bloody murder in the car or with diaper changes, or really if your baby is just upset for no reason, that's usually kind of a sign that we may have a soft sensory dysfunction going on.
And so what is the difference between colic and soft sensory dysfunction, or how can you tell if your baby is, traditionally colic, if it's reflux, if it is this soft sensory dysfunction? How, as a parent, what can a parent look for to help them figure out what's going on with their baby?
Sure. So, if your baby always needs to be swaddled, or if your baby never wants to be swaddled, pretty much any extreme behaviors, if we cannot be in the car or you always have to put them in the car to sleep. And really, even if it is true colic, some of the things we're going to be talking about today are going to help all babies, whether they're struggling or they're not struggling or they're perfectly developing. All these things are still going to be great to create those pathways to help them progress as they age.
What kinds of things do you recommend doing for a baby who is really struggling with, increased fussiness, and parents are having a very difficult time keeping baby happy and calm,
Sure.
and just enjoying their little life?
Yeah, and actually, we're going to talk about 2 exercises today that are super easy. They can be implemented pretty much all day, and even as the child ages into toddlerhood, into young childhood, these things are going to be great. So I really encourage parents, when we're teaching these things, just go ahead and ingrain them. If you're holding baby, we're going to be doing some hand hugs, and we're going to talk about those. I'm going to show you guys how to do some sound swings. And then also, if your baby doesn't immediately respond and is super happy, stop doing it. Try again later. Maybe baby's in a fussy mood. I don't always want to be touched or spoken to during the day. Babies are the same. You might notice in the morning that they can accept a lot of this input, and then you have your witching hour. By the end of the day, their sensory systems are really spent and they're kind of over it.
So we're going to go ahead and start off with Whitlie talking about hand hugs and sound swings.
Sure.
And then we'll move into the other stuff.
So I think colic is technically defined. Baby cries for 3 or more hours, for 3 or more days, for 3 or more weeks, which that's a lot of crying. That's like no sleep for parents. That's not a fun time. When you bring your little one home from the hospital, you're so excited, you want to spend time with them and love them, and then they're just struggling. And there's really no way for a baby to really struggle and for everyone else in the household not to also struggle.
My son was colicky, and whew, oh my goodness. I remember really distinctly one night, I don't know, around 3 a.m, when he had just been screaming for hours no matter what I did, and I set him in his crib. I recognized that I was done. I set him in his crib and I walked out onto the front porch. I shut the door behind me and I just took some really deep breaths, like middle of the night. I could hear him screaming inside, but I just needed a minute to myself, because colic can take it out of you as a parent, as a caregiver. It is really, really difficult, and especially if you don't have a partner that can step in and give you a break, and or maybe baby won't accept your partner the same way that they accept you. Different babies respond differently to different people, and your partner may not have that specific like bounce and rock that your baby likes, or maybe they just don't quite get like the shh 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 that baby prefers, and so sometimes you just have to take a minute. Take a minute and breathe.
It's emotionally taxing for sure to have a little one, and to be a new parent, or maybe not a new parent, and think to yourself, I can't calm my baby. That must just be a really difficult experience, but we're hopefully here to help with some of those struggles.
Absolutely. And I have been working with infants and toddlers for 15 plus years, and I've worked with kids. I've been a foster parent. My son was not the first child in my home, but he was my first colicky baby. And I remember thinking, I have worked in this field. I have been with babies for years. What is wrong with me as a parent that I cannot get my child to stop crying?
Aww, you could help everyone else's, and then yours was like nothing.
Yes, it was. Oh, whew, it was tough. And I wish that I had known about, how it was, a neurological thing and a sensory thing, and not that my child hated me or that I was a failure as a parent, because those are the thoughts that go through your head when you're sitting in the rocking chair in their nursery and it's 4:00 in the morning
and they're sobbing and you're sobbing and everybody's sobbing.
Why does my baby hate me? Pretty much.
He doesn't. He's just struggling in the world. So hand hugs are going to help baby's brain and body really connect. And sometimes what can happen is we have 8 sensory systems. We have the 5 that everyone knows about: touch, taste, sight, smell, sound. But then we have 3 hidden. We have vestibular, which is our movement, which Anna is just not even thinking about it, slightly rocking baby. That's something that just as caregivers we tend to do. And then we have our proprioceptive system, and that tells us where we're at in space. So, if I do this, I know this is 2 fingers. I can't see it, but I feel it. Baby can't feel yet. Baby has not lived in this body in gravity long enough. So when we go in and give all this nice deep pressure, and that's essentially what a swaddle is. A swaddle is a giant hand hug. I don't know if you'd ever thought of it that way.
I hadn't, but now I will.
So it's giving just that nice deep pressure. And even as an adult, we use weighted blankets. We like big tight hugs. I like a very heavy duvet. Our body seeks heavy work and prop and input so that we know where we are in space. And so just going in with those hand hugs help the proprioceptive system. And then sound swings, we're going to get a little technical here just so we all know what's going on. So within our cranial nerves, we have the vestibular-cochlear nerve, which is responsible for vestibulo, so our movement. Cochlear is our auditory. And so those 2 systems, they share a cranial nerve. And so when we're doing sound swings, we'll really be moving baby back and forth and giving a sound cue so that cranial nerve is able to say, oh, we're moving. Oh, and there's a sound. So we're really taking 2 inputs, and the more inputs we have wiring together or firing together, they're going to wire together. And that baby's vestibular-cochlear nerve is going to be able to more efficiently kind of figure out where he's at in space. And so a baby in a car that's rear-facing, you're going to see typically a lot of improvement there because all of a sudden they can handle movement. And think that these little guys have only gotten to move in utero. Once they come out in gravity, for those first couple months, we don't got a lot of movement going on. We can kind of get hands up here, we can squirm around, but we don't really get a chance to get any big movements in ourselves. So we can't expect a baby to jump in a car at 75 miles an hour going down the interstate and love it. It's just not something they've ever experienced. I would compare it to jumping on the drop zone at any amusement park. Get on the most intense one, your systems are going to kind of be shocked. So sound swings and hand hugs. So when we talk about that movement system, the most intense movement is going to be inversion. We're not going to invert our babies. We're not going to turn them upside down. They're not ready for that. But, hi. Oh, you stretching in there? Super simple. And you change this as your baby needs. If being flat and swaying them, boom, 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 they don't like that, you can bring them up a little bit. Make it less intense. When your head is above your body, it's way less intense. Boom, boom.
Can you explain to me why you're doing the auditory cue as you move him side to side?
Yeah, so, look at his little face. He's loved it. So, they share that cranial nerve, the vestibular-cochlear nerve. And so as these systems are really developing in the world, we want them to work together. And if they, lay down the tracks now and they're not really working together, baby's eventually going to figure it out. That's why babies usually come out of colic or soft sensory dysfunction. Once the tracks are laid, they're laid. But then later in toddlerhood, it may look like that child that goes and 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 can't seem to stop. Or it can look like that child that moves so slow through space and is really cautious and just seems like afraid like they're going to fall all the time. And it's because that movement system and that auditory system may not be working. Or the kiddo that's playing and you're like, hey, Bobby, hey, Bobby, hey, Bobby, hey, Bobby. And he's not ignoring you. It doesn't even register unless he's moving. And so really it's just a good way for all babies. And at your village, we really believe that everyone should have, a neurodevelopmental OT out the gate.
Absolutely.
Not even if there are no struggles, if your baby is developing perfectly, there's always going to be something that we can teach you that's going to be easy to implement with your little one and really just give them the strongest start to their life that you can.
So then, as you're moving, I just want to make sure that I'm getting this right. The sound combined with the movement helps to sort of put it all together in one piece.
Yes.
So that both of those components are getting the input that they need at the same time.
Yes, together. So that later, if you have a system that is a little wonky, and all of us have different systems. Like I don't want to be touched in the evenings. I'm touched out, don't touch me.
I've got crazy sensory processing issues. I get it.
Yeah, in the morning, I don't listen to talk radio. It infuriates me. I don't want to hear talking in the morning. That's how my auditory system is. I don't want to do it. I need some music or silence, and then I'm going to warm up. So the same thing for these little guys, figuring out what they like, what they don't like, and you can move them.
Oh, did you see that little smile?
Right, he did it again. We're having a really hard time focusing right now. He's loving it. So yeah, we just want to make sure those systems, and if you have a system that doesn't work so great, we want to piggyback off of another system until they can learn to, move and work efficiently on their own. Just like if you broke your arm, we would cast it for a little bit, you would work through it, and then it'd be good to go. Same thing. Let's pair those together so that if one happens to be weaker than the other, it'll pick it up, piggyback together, and then they'll, hopefully work smoothly and beautifully together. And you can turn baby this way. You can go side to side. Boom. Oh, he doesn't like that one as much. So then I'll put him right back toward me.
And it's really important as you're doing this with your little one, pay attention to these little cues, just like Whitlie did. She noticed that his face, he wasn't calm and relaxed like he had been a minute ago. He tensed up his body a little bit, and so she adjusted and changed the way that she was doing it. And those tiny little cues are what will tell you so much about your baby, that you really, not just with this, but with everything, you really have to make sure that you are tuned into your little one and catching all of those little things. And if you as a parent, as a caregiver, find that you're having trouble interpreting those signals or figuring out what is a signal, that's what we're here for. We would love to help you figure out how to interpret what your baby is saying and the noises they're making and their little body language. So if you need help, give us a shout and we can help you figure out how to make
There's another smile.
Those a little bit easier to understand.
And so he didn't like when I was going fully side to side like this. So I kind of made him diagonal, and I'm actually adding in a physical cue with my little hand on his rump, if you'll watch. So I'm giving him a little squeeze along with the sound and the movement. And so now we're pairing all three of those systems together. Hi.
So how often do you recommend doing this? Both like at a time, at a session, or how many times during the day? How long in their little life?
Hi. Oh, always. You should be rocking and swinging and loving. Oh, get it, buddy. And squeezing on your baby. Always. When you see your 25-year-old daughter, you should be pulling her into a big bear hug. But I would say a general rule is, if you're really busy and you're not going to be able to think about it, maybe after every diaper change, or before a diaper change. Go ahead and warm those systems up to lay baby down, because you're going to be kind of taking diaper off. They're going to be kind of cold. It's not fun. You're going to be wiping them, all those things. So maybe even before that, do a little swinging. Boom.
So if your little one struggles with diaper changes, if every time you lay them flat to change their diaper, they are screaming, their body is arching back, they're really fighting you on it, that is another indicator that they are really struggling with that soft sensory dysfunction, that their brain is saying, oh my God, what are you doing laying me down? I can't handle this. I can't tolerate this. And, that's one of the ways that we can tell that they need a little bit of work.
Yeah, and you may think, oh my goodness, baby is really freaking out. All I'm doing is laying them down. But to them, oh, he didn't like that. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, I moved you too quick. Here we go. They really don't have the cognition to say, oh, mom's just laying me down for a diaper. They say, I'm going to die, I need help. And that's really how it feels to them. The same thing with soft sensory dysfunction. They don't have words. And they do interpret pain, but they also interpret new sensations as pain. Their brains are just like, whoa, this is not right. And then here's some adrenaline, here's some cortisol, here's a very upset baby. That's how that goes. So really just giving them time to adjust to it and move around to it. He's loving it, Mom. He's about it. Hi. Yeah, so those are sound swings. And I would definitely stress, you can do hand hugs and deep pressure anytime. You cannot overdo that. If baby's into it and you're into it, give that baby all the squishes that they want. But do be careful with the movement, because again, baby can't get those movements on their own. And so you don't want to take baby and just like swing him around or swing her around and give them really crazy intense input, but slow and rhythmic and calm and sweet.
So what is your professional opinion on using a baby swing or something like a mamaroo at this age when they're this young? You know, a lot of parents say the swing is the only thing that made my child stop crying, or the mamaroo with its, you know, little bouncing movement is the only thing that helped. You know, how does that fit into this piece?
If you're only using the swing to calm baby, I would say that's more of a band-aid. What we're doing with actual manual sound swings, we can slow it down, we can train babies' systems to more readily accept, understand, and process kind of what the outside world is telling them. So listen, if you got to put your baby in a swing for a little bit, let's be real, you got to do what you got to do. But I would really, really, really encourage that you also kind of start training baby's system to be able to do it on their own, so you don't have that swing. You know, even at looking at containers, you know, we get into things with positioning and head shape and motor growth, and, you know, if they're always sitting up, or so you get into a lot of those things. But again, mama's got to take care of herself, do what you got to do, but really, really encourage you to do it manually if you can, and help baby train so that we don't have to use that swing. But if your baby always needs a swing to sleep or always needs to be put in the car to sleep, those are also pretty big red flags for soft sensory dysfunction. You can go in individually on their little toes, and you're going to add a sound cue, just like with the sound swings. Boom, 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 boom. Or you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. If baby becomes upset at any time, take a break. Do your hands. Boom, 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 boom. Even getting their little hips, you can squish them. Boom, 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 boom. Even moving, you can do their little shoulders. You can squish on their chest. Hi. Oh. There's a smile. So really just reading baby. If he's into it, keep squishing. You can pull their little knees up and squish. Oh. Oh. So he didn't like that. So then we'll go back to something that he really enjoyed. Yeah, big yawn. We chill
I see
it
how relaxed his arms are.
We're just flopping down.
He went from being a much tighter, scrunched in baby to much
And
calmer.
that's another sign, another red flag for kind of that soft sensory is if your baby's really tight up here, really tight in their hips. They're kind of doing that. It increases their awareness to their muscles, and so going in and manually, yeah, wow, like really, his arms are just like, did that feel good?
Got those spaghetti arms.
Yep.
So as you're doing this with someone this little, are you using the palm of your hand or are you using your fingers? Because I know that, you know, his arm is like the size of your finger.
Yeah, so, you know, if we're doing hips or anything really big, I might use the palm. But if we're doing little bitties, I might just use like 3 fingers and squish around. Hi. Well, maybe your palm too. It's really just, you know, you want it to be firm and even all over. You don't want to like squeeze his feet really hard and then barely touch his arms. You want to do like a nice, firm, gentle pressure all over. And this guy's here for it. He's just, oh, startle. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, buddy.
So can you, that startle, can you explain what just happened with that startle?
Yeah, so that is actually a reflex that lives very deep in the brain. If there's any sudden movements, so the vestibular system will pick it up, or sudden sounds, baby will startle really big, and then they should kind of slowly pull it and relax. And later in life, that turns to an adult startle reflex. And for us, it looks like we hear a sound, we look, oh, it doesn't have anything to do with us? Okay, never mind, we're good. Oh, there's danger, let's respond. For them, they just need to be aware of danger so that they can let their caregivers know, like, something's up. But, you know, a nice, pretty regulated baby should be able to startle. and then pull it back in. If your baby startles and stays upset for a particularly long amount of time, that's also probably a sign.
How long is a particularly long amount?
I mean, if it's just, I touched him just then and we startled, should be pretty quick. Now, if there's a super loud boom, you should be able to calm baby in 10 minutes or under, I would say. If it's any more than that, oh, goodness. Tell me about it. Oh, goodness. Oh, tell me about it. So he went up, and then we stretched back down and we're good. Really, if there's nothing wrong with baby, if we're not hungry, if we don't need to be changed, if we're not sleepy, if we're not refluxy, you should be able to calm your baby pretty quickly. Really, really encourage parents to do these as much as they can. And maybe even if your baby is calm and regulated, these things are they're just going to help. They're just going to help baby have the best start to their life. And it's, the difference in your baby just surviving and your baby thriving. Every parent wants their kiddo, to be the best thing that they can be. And truly that neurology starts in utero, and then especially those first 3 months of life. Learning, your baby has to learn how to eat by mouth. Your baby has to learn, again, to exist in gravity, and it's cold and it's bright and there's sounds, and we're not in this perfectly degreed, quiet tomb where all we can hear is mommy loving on us. So any help that we can give these guys when they're coming into the world and transitioning into true infancy, I think is a plus for everyone. And it's a beautiful way to bond with your baby, to really cue in with them and learn what they like and what they don't like and what their cues are. Oh, yeah. Stretch it out.